Welcome to Beyond the Velvet Rope with Neal Oates Jr., the podcast that takes you on an extraordinary journey into the world of luxury service. Join us as we unlock the secrets, stories, and strategies behind exceptional experiences. From anticipating VIP needs to crafting unforgettable memories, we'll guide you on a path to service excellence in the realm of the affluent. Let's elevate your expertise and redefine the art of world-renowned service. Here's your host, Neal Oates Jr.
Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with Marc R. who is a senior mortgage loan officer and licensed realtor based in South Florida. He provides access to hundreds of statewide affordable housing programs, has trained and consulted many mortgage pros, and has served for 2 decades as a neighbor works consultant focused on turning buyers into confident homeowners. Mr. Marc R. I'm excited to have you on as a guest today. How are you today, sir?
Fantastic, Neal. Glad to be here, man. Mr. World Renowned. I love it, brother. How's everything with you?
So all is going well on this end, and I know that the audience, our viewers and listeners, are going to be in for a treat today. So I just gave a little bit about Mr. Marc Williams, but what's something that I didn't say that you think would be beneficial to the audience?
Well, thank you for that. Let me just kind of open with just a little bit of my history in real estate and in lending. I started off with real humble beginnings. I started working straight out of college for a HUD certified counseling agency where we helped a lot of first-time home buyers get prepared to meet with a lender to get qualified. So I have a bit of that history, and I just said later on, let me be on the lending side so I understand both sides of the coin, if you will, for helping a lot of first-time home buyers. And the rest is just kind of history, man. But I'm just, happy to be here and happy to share as much information as possible. But that's a little bit of my background and beginning as well in this space.
Okay, so Marc, here's where I want to go. You're here in the South Florida market. This is not an easy market to lend in. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. Why do you continue to serve? And it's not just South Florida, but Florida. But so why do you continue to serve this market when there might be easier or different markets that you could service, sir?
So, that's a great question. And let me just say this. I believe there is a sector of the population that is not being served as it relates to good information related to home ownership. And so over the years, I've noticed in this particular space on the lending side and even on the counseling side is that there are a lot of individuals that will come to me and say, Marc, you know what? I did not know these things existed. I did not know these programs existed. How can I better inform myself to move me through that process of owning a home? And so that's why I think it's important that, we look at all different types of communities, all different types of ethnic groups to really understand how we kind of move the needle a little bit towards home ownership. Because I do believe there is an underserved market and a marginalized community that just doesn't know how to be a part of that home ownership dream, if you will. The luxury market, I think, is always going to be there. We don't see that going away. And outside of Miami, when we talk about even upstate Florida, there's always different markets where there's still home ownership that is aggressively, being done. And so those are the types of markets that I like to always continue to serve, no matter what that looks like.
Okay, so you said 2 words, and they're 2 different words, and people might think they're one and the same. You said lending and counseling, right? And so many times we think of our mortgage professional, our lending partner, and we only think of the lending side. I know a big part of not what you do, but who you are is that counseling part. So if we're talking about someone who is in the journey or even at the start of this journey of home ownership, why is the counseling part of this journey so important, probably more so than just the lending side?
Another great question. So I'll tell you this, a lot of individuals, I think, with social media, with all the information that's out there, they're getting some information, right? But to really understand how to develop a strategy for homeownership, that's where the disconnect really is, right? We can get pieces of information and think we know as a first time home buyer where we're going. But unless we're working with the right professionals, such as yourself and others out there, we're maybe not going to get to the finish line, right? And so that's why I think the counseling component is so important. And that's what I found over the years is if you can really sit down a first time home buyer and talk to them about where they're at now, the snapshot of where they want to kind of go to get into home ownership, that's where the counseling component can come in. And so a lot of individuals may think that they're ready right now, but they're not. And so the counseling component is, oh, you're not ready right now, but what does the next 4 months, what does the next year look like? How can we truly get you ready so that when you sit down with a loan officer or lender like myself, you understand one, what the products may best suit you, the down payment requirement, the DTI, debt to income, all of that I think is important on the counseling side. The last thing I want to be able to do is, or not be able to do is just say, hey, listen, you don't qualify, buy, on to the next one. We don't
Right.
want to have that in this market. And I see too much of that happening. I think we are better served in educating and counseling our clients and in the hope that, hey, if they don't use you as a real estate agent or that loan officer, at least they're headed on the right track to homeownership.
So, Mark, you just mentioned this. What you don't want to do is say, "You're not approved. Get out of here. Goodbye. Lose my number." Right? But what do you say to that potential home buyer? And we understand that home ownership leads to generational wealth, unlocks opportunities. But what do you say to that person who is afraid? Right? They're like, "Man, because no one likes to be denied. No one wants to be rejected, and it's so judgmental. That's the feeling, right?" And they're coming in. They're saying, I don't want to talk to Mark. Why? Because he's going to ask me about my credit. He's going to ask me about my income. He's going to ask me about my debt and the debt to income ratios. He's going to ask about my spending habits. And I got to open the kimono and really be vulnerable. What do you say to that person who has delayed even investigating home ownership because they're afraid of opening up to a person? Because I don't want to be told no. I got this feeling. I know I've made some mistakes in the past. What do you say to that person?
So financial undressing, right? You've got to be prepared for that as a home ownership, right? If you're looking to buy a home or invest or what have you, you've got to be prepared for the hard questions. You've got to be prepared for that loan officer digging in your business, if you will, to be able to say, hey, listen, you told me about this, but I see this on paper. This doesn't make sense, right? So financially undressing with the professionals that you trust to move the needle for you is going to be really, really important. And so I understand that fear aspect of it. I really do. You know, there was some fear that I had, slightly, a little bit of fear. And the only reason why I say slightly a little bit of fear is because I had already had the history of understanding what home ownership looked like, right?
Right.
But I did know that I would need to share with my real estate agent, my loan officer, certain things in order to move that needle forward, as I said before. I would say to those individuals that are fearful, don't be fearful, be transparent, open up to your professionals, vet your professionals that you're going to use throughout this process. And then if you're okay with it, then you financially undress and you share with them all the details. Because here's the last thing that you do not want to happen as a homeowner, right? Or a possible homeowner. And that is you are moving right along and everything's great, but you forgot to mention something mid-transaction. And then the transaction falls apart. So don't be fearful in trusting the professionals that you circle you're in your circle to move that needle and ask you the right questions to be able to do that. You know, home ownership is short term for some people and it's long term for others, right? But I think if you put together the right team and share good information, you know, hopefully you'll be able to understand how to buy one home, move on to the next, and build that generational wealth as you talk about. And generational wealth, that topic alone is not for the faint of heart, right? If you really want to build true generational wealth, you've got to start one way. And I believe just home ownership is the greatest way that you'll be able to do that.
All right, Mark. So once again, every time I get to have conversations with you, there are one or two things that you say, whether it's here today, if we're hanging out somewhere or playing golf, and we'll get to golf in a little bit.
Absolutely.
But you've mentioned trust and professional. So when you were just talking about that fear factor, and you mentioned professional numerous times, you mentioned trust numerous times. If I am a layperson, a general prospect, someone who has been renting, someone who is looking at working with a loan officer, mortgage broker, what do I look at? How do I know what a trusted professional looks like? Could you give me some help? Because like you mentioned, IG, social media is telling me that I can buy with nothing and I can go on even with bad credit. I can do this, and all I have to do is just like or DM them my name and they'll get me into a home. But how do I know what a trusted professional in your space looks like?
So in my space, I would say, that's another phenomenal question. And Google it. Do your research. Check out their social media, all social media, not just Instagram, looking at their LinkedIn, looking at their Facebook. Call them, ask certain questions. Chat GPT, I'll be honest with you, list the questions that I should ask a potential loan officer that I want to come on board and be a part of my team. And go through those questions and vet at least three professionals in this space, right? And I would say also tap into the individual that speaks to you, right? That you really connect with as well. And if they connect with you, one, if they're returning your calls in a timely manner, if they're responding to your text, right? All of that is important. If they take a week to get back to you, then that might not be someone you really want to work with, especially if you're looking to pull the trigger and move forward really quickly. So I would say, that's the way that I vet a lot of professionals. I don't go with the bells and whistles that are out there right now in social media and say, oh, I like that one post that they did. They connected with me. No, I want to do a little bit more deeper dive and research into who they are as a professional. How many loans have they done in the last 6 months? What types of loans have they done in the last year? Those are just some fundamental questions to ask your professionals, not only on the loan officer side, but definitely on the real estate side. So that's the advice that I would give to a first-time home buyer, really looking to lock in with the right person.
Fantastic information there. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Mark R. Williams. And so you are going to have all of Mark's contact info in the show notes. So make sure if you want to connect with Mark, if you want to vet him, all of his information is going to be there in the show notes. So as we go forward, Mark, we're talking a lot to the first time buyer or just the buyers in general, but there's this dirty word called affordability. Right. And in the market, look, hey, ladies and gentlemen, Mark is laughing for a reason. In the market that you serve in the geographic area of South Florida, when we hear the word affordability, many of us, we scoff. Right. And you mentioned the luxury market is always going to be here, but then we understand that underserved market. What are you seeing, or what are the opportunities, or what does affordability mean to a buyer now? Just anything around affordability, because from my space on the real estate side of it, I see many potential buyers, they don't even attempt, they don't even investigate because it's not affordable, right? So what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What's something you can share with us today?
So another wonderful question. Let me say this, Neil. I think a lot of the challenge is when we talk about affordability is understanding that the market is always going to shift, right? And I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to say this out loud. Not everybody is going to be a homeowner. Let's just be realistic with it,
Yeah.
right? There's some individuals that the income levels are just not going to be there. They're not keeping up with the increase in equity and home ownership and the values of properties in the South Florida market. So what I'm telling a lot of first-time home buyers who might not be buying in the luxury market, and let me just say this, if your total household income is not higher than $125,000 a year annually, you're going to have a challenging time finding something in this particular market in Miami, and probably even Broward County. And you've got to make some compromises. So what I've told a lot of first-time home buyers is, hey, listen, you may need to buy with that uncle that you don't like, that sister that you don't talk to on a regular basis, to come together and build that generational wealth and qualify for a home, and using both income levels in order to make you competitive. I've also seen a lot of families that have said, you know what, this particular South Florida market is just not for me. I need to look about relocating, right? And
Mhm.
that might be Central Florida. That might be out of the state. So, I think as a family or an individual, you've got to ask those hard questions, right? And where you are in your affordability and what you may need to do to quickly get to the point where you own the asset and you're building generational wealth. The other side of that is I think a lot of home buyers, and I've mentioned this before, are unrealistic about their current situation. And what I mean by that is this: there's a lot of families out there and individuals that believe that they should be able to purchase the Miami Beach property or the beachfront property with the white picket fence. It's got to be 5 bedrooms, 6 bath, and all of that. And realistically, the income doesn't speak to that. So I always tell a lot of first-time home buyers my story is you got to start off small. I started off when I purchased my first home, a 2 bedroom, 2 bath condo down in Homestead when Homestead wasn't what it is today, right? And so I share that with you because over the years things changed. Over the years, the real estate market shifted, and I was able to continue to level up. So I always tell a lot of first-time home buyers, start small, be realistic, be diligent to address the affordability issues that are happening here in Miami-Dade County and even Broward County for that matter. You just may need to adapt and make some hard sacrifices and compromises.
So we're geographically located in South Florida. Now, I want to make it clear, Mark, do you only work and serve the South Florida markets?
Thank you. And I do not. I serve the whole state of Florida. As a broker, I work with many different lenders nationwide. So we're able to also assist individuals that way. If they're looking to possibly purchase, we have relationships that we can introduce that first time home buyer or that buyer to, that individual that might be looking to also refinance their home or just become a investor in the real estate market. But yes, Miami is where I reside. However, we do service the full state of Florida.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I wanted to pitch that question out there to Mark is if you connect with someone, what we don't want is for you to assume that, man, I like him, but he can't help me. Right. And so that's an important thing. And so once again, if you have, and I'm going to encourage everyone on the buy side, even on the sell side or the real estate professional side, if you have questions, Mark is a fantastic resource. And we even talked about some of the work that you've done on the charity side, on the support side there with the organizations that you're partnered with. But here's where I want to go quickly. Wow, we're doing this thing called real estate. There's always going to be some headwinds, some challenges for buyers. And when you look at the market today, as we record this on the first day of October 2025, what are you seeing are some of the biggest headwinds, some challenges for buyers besides affordability when they're trying to purchase properties?
So, for a lot of first time home buyers, one of the three things that I've typically mentioned that will disqualify them from lending as a whole, right, is credit, the amount of money that they have saved, and even their history with working or not working or even being self-employed, right? There's a lot of misinformation out there. That's why I always say, sit down with your lender, tell them your scenario, financially undress, and tell them exactly where you're at and where you want to go for them to kind of lay out a path for you to home ownership. But the biggest challenge is out of the three that I'm seeing is definitely down payment, right? They don't have enough money saved to be able to purchase a home. And then there's a misconception that, oh, I need 20% down payment. No, you don't. When we're talking about in a market where it's really a buyer's market now, you're having a lot of sellers saying, you know what? I'm willing to give some seller contribution to offset that for you. Or better yet, I'm working with a lender loan officer that understands down payment assistance programs, right? So I think that that is a challenge for a lot of first-time home buyers is the amount of money that they have saved and what they need to meet their closing cost requirement and their down payment requirement. Credit, we know over time can work. We can work with that. There's things that, if you're working with the right credit restoration company, you can definitely help increase your score to be able to do that. But those are the things that I think are my top three challenges for a lot of first time home buyers. But the one main thing that I'm seeing in this particular market is I just don't have enough. I want to be a homeowner, but I just don't have enough. And I'm also misinformed by the fact that, hey, it's going to be 20% down, and that's just not the case.
We can fix a lot of stuff. Not having enough money is one of those that's going to be a challenge to fix, right? So
Yes.
we've spoken to the home buyer. Now, I much of my audience are going to be those in the real estate industry, right? And so, oh my gosh, the real estate agents, the title companies, and you've mentioned this idea of a team. Right.
Yes.
You believe in the value of teamwork in every aspect of everything that you do. So for us now, we're going to talk to the real estate professional. What are either some mistakes that you see real estate professionals make when it comes to attempting to best serve their buyer clients? Or what are some tips that would make that transaction easier as a real estate professional?
So, as a real estate professional, I think it's really important that you stay in your lane.
Wait, stop. No, no, no. You just lost our entire audience, Mark. Man, they're like, man, hey, I'm not a lender, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Come on, Mark. Say it again for the people in the back, brother.
If you're a real estate agent, once again, it's important that you stay in your lane. I think there's a lot of real estate agents, unfortunately, who want to speak as if they are a loan officer without the license. And so, having been a loan officer and a real estate agent as well, both licensed, I chose to really stay in the market and stay in my lane where I like and I enjoy the lending side of this, right? And for real estate agents that are really top of the funnel, if you will, when it comes to buyers and working with buyers, I think it's really important that they stay in that real estate market, understand that market, and vet that and help the client build a team around that if you're at the top of the funnel. And so when we talk about team as well, those are things that I think are equally important. But if you're a real estate agent and you're wearing all these different hats and you're not doing the job full time, I think those are some of the things that can hurt a real estate agent as well. So if I'm a first time home buyer and I really see you as the top of the funnel as a real estate agent, I want to make sure that who's your team? Who would you recommend from the inspector, from the title company, from that loan officer that you work with? And pull your loan officer into the conversation. If there's something that you don't know, say, hey, you know what, client, XY, client, let's get you on the phone with my top lender. Let me get me on the phone with my preferred lender. And maybe, it's one, I want to see a client if you connect with them. Maybe I have two or three, right? And so let's do a conference call. I want to introduce you. I always tell my clients, my real estate agent partners, here's how I want you to introduce me. When you're out there in the market, this is what I'd like for you to say about Mark Williams. So it makes their layup a little bit easier that when I call that client, it's not like, okay, who are you? I never heard of you. The real estate agent didn't even speak to me about you. So a warm introduction as opposed to a cold referral, I think really speaks volumes. So that's what I would say to a lot of the real estate agents. And I know I'm going on there, but I would say stay in your lane, stay focused, help your client build the right team, and vetting who they're going to work with to hopefully make the largest transaction in their lifetime.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Mark Williams once again. Make sure that you go back and do a couple of things. First, you're going to want to listen to this podcast episode again because Mark is dropping gems, but then you're going to have direct access to Mark and his team. All of their contact info is going to be available in the show notes, so make sure you get that. So, Mark, you and I, sir, we have known each other for years. We reconnected very much here recently via the golf course, that dreaded place where delusional people go for torture. And so we have seen good days, we've seen bad days, good swings, bad swings, good holes, bad holes. So here's what I want to do. One, why did you get back into golf? That's going to be number one. But then number two, what have you learned about yourself from golf that you apply to your business when working with clients? So why did you get in? And then what are you learning and applying from golf to your clients and your business, sir?
Oh, whoa. And using golf as the analogy. So here's the thing. It is a sport that I can't say I've always watched, right? And I've always played on a consistent basis. Remember, I just said consistent. I got back into it probably about 6, 7 months ago or so. Good friend of mine, I'm going to give him the name, George Acosta, brought me back into it and said, hey, listen, let's go out and play, man. I said, okay, you know what? I'll take a swing at it again, yada, yada. And sure enough, I got the bug. And I literally play. Probably saying this is, I don't want to, I'm here working as well, as well. But, if I can get out there and play twice, 3 times out of the week, trust me when I say I'm going to do it. And so for me, it is therapy. Okay. I think on as loan officers, you know, there's so much responsibility. You're dealing with the client, you're dealing with the title company, you're dealing with the real estate agents on both sides of the transaction. And then you're also, dealing with your normal business and working your pipeline. So for me, it's therapy. It's an opportunity for me to go out, connect with friends.
Wait, right there, Mark. So you said there's a lot of responsibility. That's a nice way. I'm going to speak on behalf of all of us crazy realtors out here. There's also a lot of blame on the loan officer, right? So you say responsibility. We're throwing darts at this man, at this industry all day, every day, just blaming them for everything. So therapy is needed. I think that this is probably one of the most acceptable forms of therapy. So go ahead. And so I know once again, you're taking the high road because that's the quality of your character. Ladies and gentlemen, stop blaming loan officers for everything. It's not their fault. They have a process. They're trying to make. And so once again, you see what happens when we don't have moral loan officers. Then we go back to the early 2000s, right?
Yes,
So
correct.
you're saying responsibility. We say blame. Treat your loan officer nice, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Definitely. I'll send $1 your way later, brother. But I will tell you this. For me, golf is the therapy. Not only, as I said, we kind of view ourselves sometimes as a ringmaster for loan officers. When someone told me a long time ago, we should have been firefighters, right? Because we're literally putting out fires in every aspect when they do arise. So I say, I use golf as really just my disconnect and my time to, one, appreciate the game, following the rules and understanding it more and more. I play a lot with you. I play a lot with George Acosta and some others as well. Shout out to them. And the reason why I say it's great therapy is because the better that you are in being consistent on learning the game and learning the etiquette of the game, I think it helps your game, right? And I bring that back to the lending and the real estate market. The better that you are consistently about learning your craft, the better you're going to be at it. And so it doesn't necessarily just happen overnight. With my golf swing, when I came back to it, trust me, Neal will tell you, it was not the sweetest thing he's ever seen. It was the worst, it wasn't the best. But, there's times when I'm like, wow, that was
There
a
you
great
go.
shot.
There you
And
go.
for that reason alone, I had a great shot. I'm coming back tomorrow. I'm coming back 2 days from now. So I look at golf as really a learning process for me. And here's what I've also noticed. Not only do you have to really understand the game like you would in your business, but also understanding that if your mind is not in the space, you will not make a good swing. Your mind will be continually thinking about everything else on that golf course beside actually the shot that you need to make going forward. And so I also tell that to a lot of real estate agents, patience, consistency, and understanding what's going on up here, right, will definitely help you to kind of grow your business on the golf course or even just out there in the real estate market and the lending space as well.
And so something that you did, you mentioned Mr. Acosta a couple of times, right? And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to understand the caliber of the influence and the impact. And so here's what Mark said. So not only is he encouraging us to financially undress with our loan officer, with our team, but Mark was also in a position where when Mr. Acosta invites him out, he's like, I haven't played in a while. It might not be pretty. And then he's going out there doing this thing, knowing that one, he trusts George, right? And then that he's going to want to pour into him and he's going to give him another chance. So he's going to see improvement, and that improvement might be credit readiness or credit worthiness or credit score. It might be a length of time of employment. So George didn't go out with Mark one time after years of not playing, invite him and say, nope, you're not good enough to play with me again. right? Nope,
Yep.
your credit score isn't good. Nope, you aren't ready to buy. Goodbye, fall out of my CRM, right? And so I want you all to understand that while he's talking and teaching, he is also experiencing this same thing at the same time. And when we talk about authenticity, this is the caliber of professional that you want on your team. So anything on that, Mark, before I keep going, because since I have you here, I'm going to use you, sir.
Listen, so I'll wrap up with that. I think you've mentioned some really valid points there. And so when I talk about George, one of the things that you're absolutely right, and even with yourself, when I first started playing again with him, one of the things that I really appreciated with him, and this is just his character, because we've known each other easily over 12, 15 years, his patience. He knew that it was my time coming back out. He didn't dismiss that. Every shot that I was taking, he'd say, great shot, fantastic, keep that, keep doing it well. You know what? You could have changed this. You could have done this differently, okay? To better the game. Because the last thing I want to do is not show him, right, that I'm getting better and keep inviting him out to have us struggle for the next 18 holes. That's not what I'm trying to do, right? I want to invite him out and say, you know what? You told me about this. The videos that you're sending me, that's another thing, are great, okay? So he's pouring into my golf game, but also pouring into me as a loan officer. So when you talk about the caliber of the individuals that you circle yourself around, keep that in mind. Not too long ago, someone said to me, surround yourself with people that are going to uplift you, right? And I think that, with yourself, Neal, with the others that I've come across in my golf game and in my career, keeping that in mind, focus on the individuals that are going to uplift you. And I've always said this as well, you can do great things with the right 8 over the right 80. So keeping that in mind. Yeah.
Man, get you the right 8 in your pocket, right? Come on, you have the right 8 all around you. Hey, the world is going to change. All right, so Mr. Mark Williams, we're going to have some fun. And ladies and gentlemen, I know you're thinking, it's been 30 minutes already. They're done for today. This is not the last time that you're going to see Neal and Mark. We're probably going to get some stuff on the golf course. But then also, Mark, before I continue with our rapid fire round of questions, you've got a lot of stuff going on, things that would benefit my audience that's here. Would you share some of the things and ways that they can keep in contact or keep track of what you have going on in your world, in your space, sir?
Great. So thank you for that, because I just started Monday music Mortgage Music, Mortgage Music Mondays. And so every Monday at about 9 o'clock, I'll come on and share great information, which I believe is great information related to real estate tips, homeownership tips, even working with your local lender or your real estate agent, while also sharing some of the great music that I've listened to over the years. And we kind of wrap up with that. This past Monday, we kicked it off with Bob Marley. So one of my favorite Jamaican artists. So that's one of the things I've got going on. I'm also a board member with NARAB, but I'm also a consultant with NeighborWorks America. So follow me. I look forward to kind of just sharing great information. The NeighborWorks America piece is on a national level. It's a Congressly chartered organization that really talks about economic development, generational wealth building, financial literacy. All those are great topics that through NeighborWorks America and being a consultant with them that I'm able to kind of share as well. And yeah, so a lot of great things coming on, trying to wrap up the end of this year. We've got a lot of speaking engagements that we're going to be doing. We're going to be working very closely with Miami-Dade County. They have an upcoming marathon that I'll be posting on my IG page as well. It's on the 18th of October, and I look forward to seeing you out there. I also am working very closely with the Asian professionals. We have an event that's coming up there as well, because I also believe that's really an untapped market where we need more professionals in that space. So those are some of the things that are on the agenda towards the end of this year.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is at my urging, I'm going to request, almost demand, you follow Mark Williams, follow everything he's doing. He is one of those individuals that you want in your Rolodex. For those of you who are old enough to know what that is, you want his contact
Listen,
info
I've stopped you
in.
right there. I said that the other day, and somebody looked at me and said, oh, you're that age. Listen, don't.
So Mark, my thing is I've gotten better. So I used to say, hey, when you videotape when you videotape yourself, they're like, video, what is he saying? You're going to do what to yourself? I mean, oh, record. They were like, oh, so what's a videotape? And I'm like, oh my goodness, right? And so now I have to say in your contact list, not in your Rolodex, I was instructing a class for a CIP, a Certified International Property Specialist at the Miami Association. And I said, you want these contacts in your Rolodex. And I saw the blank stares of about 30 kids. And they just looked at me. And I said, wait, do you all know what a Rolodex is? And no, I'm like, was no one going to ask me what it was? And they were like, no, we just thought you were having a stroke or something. We thought you were having an old man moment. Rolodex is another language. And so then I showed that to them and they said, oh, I think I saw that in an old movie. And the old movie was right. Come on. And so that's where I'm sitting here like, man, so you're going to want Marc's info in your contact list. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Marc. So it's time to have some fun. I did not tell you we were going to do this. One, I didn't really give you a format of the show. You just agreed off of our relationship. So we're going to have some fun. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, now my legal team has advised me to disclose that you are not legally obligated to answer any of these questions. Okay.
Yep. Understood.
All right. First thing, we're going to stay in the lending side of things. What's one pre-approval myth that you wish would die?
That you need 20% down in order to qualify.
Love it. What is the most underrated document to nail on day one of a transaction or a relationship? Most underrated document.
All income documentation.
Income documentation. What's one thing that buyers should do this week if they want to buy in the next 3 to 6 months?
Follow me, follow professionals.
There we go. What is the best question an agent can ask you before submitting a new buyer?
Well, that's a good one. You know what? I would say, what question? What are my hours? When am I available?
Wait. Stop right there. You're not 24/7 all day, every day. I can't interrupt you while you're with your baby girl or when you're with your wife or while you're at church. Marc, come on, give it to me, man.
No, you cannot. That's a part of my therapy as well, right? That life balance. And so for my special real estate agents who I work with and I have a strong relationship with, I'll make myself available on a Saturday. I do not make myself available on a Saturday for everyone. I have to protect my time and my family time. And so Sundays are another day, right? You know, I love the Lord and I want to make sure that, you know, I'm doing my part as well. And so, you know, those times are available to me. But I will say this, you know, even in the evening, I've had individuals that have called me and said, hey, it's 9 p.m. Can you answer this question for me? No, I have to respect some time. Now, will I give some leeway? It's not always a hard, fast rule. Yes, sometimes I'll give some leeway. But there are others out there that they only work from 8:30 to 5, and you can't reach them at any point in time. I believe that if we are in this business and we're trying to develop the business, that we have to make ourselves a little bit more accessible and available. Maybe it's not a phone call, maybe it's a text beyond the 9 to 5 or the 8:30 to 5 hours.
Man, I'm loving it because if you all can't tell, Marc Williams is a professional. You would not just be having him at your every beck and call. I absolutely love it. So now we're going to transition. We're going to keep the rapid fire going. Your favorite color?
Purple. Royalty.
Why?
Purple.
See, I knew we were kindred spirits, brother. Let's go. We got to have the royal purple. Favorite food?
Ooh. So my wife makes this phenomenal chicken Alfredo. The chicken is fire when she does it with the pasta. And yes, so her chicken Alfredo.
So not just chicken Alfredo. It is wife's chicken Alfredo.
Absolutely.
Point blank,
I'm going on
period.
the record. Absolutely.
If someone else like, oh, we're gonna get Marc's soft spot. We're gonna bring him chicken Alfredo. Wasted their time.
No, they've wasted their time. Take all the ingredients back to the store and keep them there. But no, yes.
All right. Now, this is one that we always get a cross-eyed looks at. A nickname that only your family calls you.
Wow. You know what? I don't want to share it. I can't.
Good answer. Good answer. I like.
Sorry, man. You caught me off guard with that one. It's real personal, so no.
Last thing you need is for us to be at the golf course and somebody say, Nookie.
Now,
And you're like, oh my gosh. Hey,
No, don't
be
want
like,
that.
okay, we're not putting that out there. So, family, y'all just keep calling Mark whatever y'all call him. Y'all whisper it to him, or y'all send that
Right.
to him in the family chat. Come on.
Exactly.
Um, what is one thing that Mark Williams cannot live without?
Goal.
Let's go. I love it, sir. Good. He was like, listen, man, because y'all don't understand. This thing is therapy. I told y'all. He said, if
Golf.
I lose that, now hold on. Now, here's what I know about golf. You said you can't live without it. It's not just you out there golfing now. I'm saying you're making this thing a family event, right? We got baby girl getting lessons, wife out there in the cart with you. Y'all are doing this right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So they are part of just where I've reached in my life, right? I mean, helping me to kind of grow as well. And so I want them on that therapy journey, if you will, as well, just to kind of see me kind of grow. But also with that, just spending really quality time with her. You know, with my baby girl, shout out to Victoria, she is it's the one sport that I can keep her. She's 6. She's the one sport I can keep her for more than an hour and attention span, and that she loves being out there with me. So yeah, golf is it. And like I said, like you mentioned as well, the wife is out there with us as well. And so we're making it a family affair when we can. And so I enjoy that the most.
And your daughter on social media, well, on your social media, you talking about a big personality and is there for it. She is
Yes.
there for it. So you all make sure you follow Mark, and so really we're going to be following his baby girl, and then we'll just tolerate Mark in the process while he's doing that. All right, Mark, here we go. Best piece of advice you've ever received.
Learn how to kind of disconnect, right? And here's what I truly mean by when I say disconnect. I read this from Oprah, one of her novels that she had, and she mentioned, I'll never forget it. She says, there are times where I will truly disconnect, where I will go to a completely different city, county, state, wherever, and hopefully go to a place where nobody will know me. Nobody will know me, and truly just spend some time. And she does it, she said, if I remember correctly, she does it for just 24 hours, right? 24 hours max. She'll not tell anybody. People know that that's her day and it is what it is. And so having the opportunity to really disconnect and give yourself the opportunity for creativity to come back into your life, for just patience to come back into your life and kind of build that out a little bit. I think you owe it to yourself. And I'm not saying just for professionals, but for just the average individual. Learn how to just kind of get off the social media for a moment, disconnect. I had another good friend of mine, Milton Sharp, who, with social media, he'll post on his social media, guys, it's that time of year again. I will not be on social media for the next 60 to 90 days. See you in 60 to 90 days. Take care. And he disconnects from it. So that's a part, I think, and he's mentioned it to me as well, that's a part of his therapy. So find your space and understand that life is going to continue to go on. It just will. So that fire that you think is a fire right now, it really isn't a fire. It will work itself out. And if it's going to be a fire, it's going to be a fire. You just kind of have to keep moving through it. Yeah.
All right. So next question. This Mark, what advice would you give to 18-year-old Mark?
Wow. I would say learn from your failures, right? Learn from your mistakes. There was a period of time in my life where I was learning, but I was also beating myself up, right?
Come on.
And so I think that's really important. I think every mistake or every failure is a learning opportunity. It's not necessarily a mistake and leaving it there, or it's not a failure and leaving it there. It's how you grow and how you learn from it going forward. Could I have done this differently? Could I have communicated this differently? Every situation that I find in the lending space or just in life in general, things happen. Things happen beyond your control. You'd like for it to go a certain way and it didn't, but understanding that the quicker that you're able to learn from it, adapt, make the changes and go forward, then you can say, you know what? Oh, I had that before. This is what that looks like. Let me tweak this. Let me do this differently. So I'd say, learning from those mistakes and learning from those failures and not just leaving it at a possible failure or mistake.
I absolutely love it. And this is how we're going to close. This is our final question, Mr. Mark Williams. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Ooh, I heard this the other day, and I'd say just a great person, a good person, a person that I think, I love these engagements. I truly do, because it gives me the opportunity to kind of learn from individuals, but also share good information. So that is my energy source, if you will, to be able to continue doing what I'm doing. So yeah, I'd have to probably say that would be it.
Man, I can tell you what, if that is what you want to be when you grow up, you are well on your way. Great people, great friend, husband, father, and friend. And I'm going to say here on the record, as you did about your wife's chicken Alfredo, that it is an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to know you, to get to do life with you in every aspect. And so I can't wait to see where we go and where we bring our audiences with us. And so I want to say thank you. I know this is not going to be the last time. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mark Williams, his contact info is in the show notes or the description. Make sure you connect with him in any and every platform that he is on. You will be better for it. Your future will be drastically improved. And I've seen him in the industry for decades, and I don't put my name to everyone. I don't vouch for everyone. Mark Williams has been consistent for decades. And that is and that's a rarity, right? So hey, when you
Yes.
start talking about being consistent for decades, you're like, man, he doesn't look that old. Well, no, he does not look that old, but he has the Benjamin Button disease, right? Now, so look, so he and I'm trying to get there, Mark. You see, people like, Neal, are you gonna dye your beard? I'm like, I might dye my beard white just so I can look like what is it, a Gandalf the Grey or something like that, man. I can't. Could you imagine, as smart as I appear already and as knowledgeable and as much of a student I am, when this thing goes full white, brother, I'm gonna be a problem, Mark. I'm just gonna walk around with some scrolls all the time and just
Right,
with a
right.
felt tip pen and a feather, just walking around. They're gonna be like, man, is that Moses or somebody? He
Right,
looks
right, right, right,
wise.
exactly.
So, Mark,
No, I love it.
it's an absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave you as we always do, and that is that we love you. God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And until the next time you see us or we see you, don't be average, be world renowned. Peace.
Thank you again, man. Listen, see you at the next tea time, brother. Be safe.